ce soir. My name is Kina Leclerc and I will be your moderator. Je m'appelle Kina Leclerc et je serai l'animatrice de ce point de presse. Before we begin, a quick reminder to place yourself on mute until I invite you to speak or to ask your question. Available for question from the media, we have disponible pour répondre aux questions des médias, nous accueillons in council chambers, Mayor, le maire, Jim Watson, Steve Kanalakos, City Manager, Directeur Municipal. Phoning in today, we have Steve Bell, Deputy Chief, Chef Adjoint, Kim Ayotte, General Manager, Emergency and Protective Services, Directeur Général, Service de Protection et d'Urgence, David White, City Solicitor, Chef du Contentieux, Wendy Stephenson, Chief Financial Officer, Chef des Finances, Rick O'Connor, City Clerk, Greffier Municipal, and Donna Gray, General Manager, Community and Social Services, Directrice Générale, Services sociaux et communautaires. I will now invite each agency to ask their question. You may ask one question with one follow-up. Par ordre alphabétique, j'invite maintenant chaque organisme à poser une question.
By alphabetical order, we can start.
So we will now start with Canadian Press. We have Laura Osman on the line.
Hey there. Thanks so much for sticking around to take our questions so late in the evening. My first question, I think, is for Steve Bell and Mr. White about this injunction that was granted by the Ontario court. Obviously, you have asked the truckers politely to stop unlawfully honking their horns before. Is this injunction actually a helpful tool for you? Can we actually expect some sort of change from an enforcement perspective in the coming days?
Yes, thanks for your question, Laura. So, as you know, the injunction is very new to us. We're still continuing to go through and assess it with our attorneys. Any tool that we can have that will help provide us additional tools to enforce bylaws, HTA laws, criminal laws, what have you, is going to be important for us to use and leverage. We'll continue to assess our ability to enforce them at different points and at different times to make sure that we're having the most impact we can to stop the occupation.
Thank you so much. And my second question is about this arson investigation on Lisgar Street. Mayor, you obviously made some comments at the beginning of this very long council meeting regarding what this tells us about the intentions of the protesters. Is there anything that leads you to believe that this is directly connected to the protest?
Sorry, Laura, is that question for me?
For you, and I think for Mr. Bell, if he has any details on the investigation.
Yeah, obviously, I can't comment on the investigation. I can only say that it's, in my opinion, highly likely that it's from the protest march, because we're seeing a lot of illegal and criminal activity along the street, rude behavior, and the very fact that two people go in, try to start a fire, and wrap up the door, so it'd be very difficult for people to get out. That could have cost several lives, and thank goodness no lives were lost. But the fear factor in that neighborhood is through the roof, and I suspect the caravan is attracting and acting as a magnet to bring a lot of people who have a lot of who are causing a lot of grief to our neighborhoods and our communities. And again, I don't know if they were directly connected, but that caravan attracts a lot of nasty people. Steve? Bell?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm going to absolutely concur with the comments of the mayor. We've been actively working on this investigation all day. You've seen earlier in the day, we've posted photos looking for the community's assistance, the public's assistance in identifying the people involved in this. We can't, as the investigation unfolds, we'll be able to better determine whether it's directly related to the occupation or not. That being said, we know there's extreme fear in these neighborhoods. There's a heightened sense of lack of security there. And that's something that, as the police service, we've really been focusing on, redeploying resources to make sure that we have a larger presence of foot officers in the area to have zero tolerance and enforce all the laws in that area. We will continue with the investigation and update as we move ahead on it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Laura. Up next, we have Joanne Chianello at CBC.
Hi, thanks. I don't go first now, so maybe the mayor won't compare me to the 89-year-old Washington correspondent that always goes first too. Laura,
Sorry about that.
It's okay. I took it as a compliment, but I'm going to piggyback a bit on Laura's question about the injunction. I think a lot of people are wondering, why was this needed when we have a noise bylaw, you know, and what can it bring that we didn't have before? You know, if someone can maybe talk a little bit about that. I don't know if it's David White, Deputy Bell, and whoever else would like to add into that.
So I can start with it. And like I said before, any tool that we can have that will help us in our enforcement efforts is something that we would welcome. You are right, there is existing HTA laws for excessive noise, bylaws for excessive noise, bylaws for idling that already exist. We're currently reviewing all the components within the injunction to look at how it will augment our tools that we have in order to work to stop this occupation.
No one else? David, you don't have anything to say on that? Good.
No, again, the city wasn't a party to this, and the enforcement is ultimately up to the courts and to the police. And so I defer to the deputy.
Sure. And I guess I'm not even sure how to ask this because it seems kind of ridiculous, but I mean, the protesters have demanded that someone from the city meet with them on Wellington. I do not expect that you did that, but I am wondering, did anybody actually receive a request at the city? How are you communicating? And of course, I know there'll be confidential information you can't share, but how are you communicating with these folks? Did you actually receive a request to meet, or is this propaganda that's online?
I can say from my perspective, Joanne, that my office has not received any invitation. I don't know. I think the police have some contacts with some of the protest organizers. Deputy?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Joanne, what I can tell you is from the beginning of the protest, like in any protest or demonstration that we engage in, we have officers that are on our police liaison team that are directly dedicated to open channels of communication, to have discussions with the people who are organizing the protest or demonstration so that we can actually look at how we can peacefully resolve the situation. We've continued to engage in that dialogue through this demonstration, this occupation, and we will continue that as we move ahead. Those members have seen some success. They were able to successfully negotiate the members that were in occupying Confederation Park to leave over the weekend. So we will continue to keep those lines of communication open in the hope and attempts to make sure that we can peacefully end this demonstration.
And can you confirm or not? Can you confirm at all if you did receive an actual invitation to meet on Wellington Street?
So I actually can't confirm that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, we will go to Ted Raymond at CTV Ottawa.
Hi there. Thanks for taking our questions. My first question, I guess, is to Mayor Watson. The Prime Minister is up in the House of Commons just a little while ago speaking to this. He says that it has to stop, that they're barricading our economy and harassing people in the streets. But I'm wondering if, in your opinion, have you been in contact regularly over these last 10, 11 days with the PMO just regarding Justin Trudeau's response or role in this? And do you think that the Prime Minister should be more involved in trying to bring this to an end?
Yes, excuse me, Ted, I spoke to the Prime Minister, I'm trying to recall, several days ago. I had conversations today, this afternoon, with two ministers, the Minister of Emergency Preparedness, the Minister of Public Safety, discussions with the Premier as well, and other elected officials from both orders, from both the province and the federal government. The Prime Minister, I know, is obviously deeply involved in all of the discussions, and I know I'll be speaking with him, I believe, sometime this week to give him an update from the municipal perspective. As you know, we wrote to the Prime Minister today and requested a significant increase in the number of RCMP officers that we need here in the City of Ottawa, because we clearly need to better protect the residential neighborhoods and start to gain ground, as we did just a few days ago at the baseball stadium and Confederation Park. So I know the Prime Minister and his staff are actively engaged as their number one file and number one priority. And we started the discussions today with his ministers so that hopefully sometime in the next day or two, we can have a tripartite meeting with the province, the federal government, and ourselves at the municipality to plan our way forward to end this occupation and to give greater comfort and security to those people who feel threatened and harassed in our neighborhoods. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My second question is to Deputy Chief Bell, just regarding something that Chief Slowly has said about the protesters. They're kind of adapting to enforcement measures. They're changing their tactics every time police step up. Enforcement, for example, today with the jerry cans, they're filling them with water to try to, I guess, sneak things past or whatever it is that they're doing. Can you talk a little bit about, is there a way that police are able to kind of stay on top of this, or is this just going to be one long cat and mouse game between these two, between you and the protesters until they do eventually leave?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Ted. So yeah, the chief did actually make the statements and give examples of the challenges our officers are seeing out there on a daily basis. I think it's really important to recognize the amazing work that the men and women of our police services and other police services, the RCMP, the OPP, and other Ontario municipal police services are engaged in. They're up against some really challenging situations on a regular basis. Today's a great example. We have the example you're talking about around interdiction of gasoline and diesel coming into the site. I can tell you that during one of those interdictions today, one of our officers was swarmed by a group of people, to the point that we needed to call in a public order unit team to actually allow him to get out of the crowd. Following that, I can tell you an investigation is ongoing. There was an arrest made and there will be charges coming from that. Another one of our officers was involved in a minor collision where a vehicle rammed them at a checkpoint. Again, an investigation is going on and we continue to follow up in looking for charges. We're also, you heard us talk today about the investigations going into the threats against public figures and members of this police service. Today, we responded to 2 swatting incidents, one of them originating from the United States that's resulted in charges. Our members, our city, our members and everyone involved in this are under unprecedented stress and pressure, and our members are doing absolutely the best job they can to resolve this in every way.
Thank you very much. So moving on, we will go to, on va passer à Julien Paquette à Le Droit.
Bonsoir, bonsoir.
Good evening. Oh.
Deputy Bell, regarding the arson investigation, one detail I was just curious about, and I can't seem to find this information anywhere, but do you have any details to share about what exactly happened to that? Fortunately, this fire that they tried to start didn't spread basically during this incident. Do you know what happened to prevent this, or?
So thanks, Julian. As we indicated, we've been on this since early in the day, since it's been reported. It's a very serious incident. There's absolutely no doubt, and something we're taking extremely seriously and putting lots of resources behind to try and resolve and solve and have charges as quickly as possible. Our arson investigators are doing the investigation, and as part of that, they will work with the fire department to look at what damage was caused or what damage could have been caused. I can't comment on why the fire didn't spread. I can tell you that I am very happy and relieved that it did not spread, as the intention was to cause grave injury to people. But our investigation will ultimately reveal that.
Okay. And my follow-up will be for you as well. So it's concerning the 1,800 people you're requesting from the RCMP and the OPP. The chief has mentioned that these additional resources will be important to achieve your strategy in the upcoming days. Can you just give us a little more details about what these additional human resources will be useful for? What type of actions will you be able to take once you get these other officers and civil employees?
So it's really important that you understand the scope and scale of our policing operation now. It takes over 400 officers, it takes over 400 officers a day to staff the checkpoints and the crowd control operations that we have ongoing. That takes away from our daily operations of running a police service across the largest municipality in Canada. We are looking for these members to come in, augment our current staff to allow us to resume some of the work that's been put aside from our regular policing operations while we increase our presence in that area, while we increase our efforts around negotiation and increase our efforts around enforcement to cut off absolutely the supplies going in there, to continue to remove people and activities from places like Coventry Road site. So those resources will be applied to maintaining our current operations and expanding them to ultimately have an end to the occupation.
Merci beaucoup, Julien. Thank you, Deputy Chief Bell. Nous allons maintenant passer. We will now go to John Willing at the Ottawa Citizen.
Thanks, Kina. Question for city management. Who has the standing offer for towing illegally parked vehicles right now, and who is refusing work under the standing order because of the protest? And finally, is this company or companies providing services outside of the protest area, for example, the suburbs, or are companies refusing to do work inside the red zone only?
Hi, John. I don't have the list of companies. We have a standing offer with many of the tow truck operators in Ottawa, and I don't have a list in front of me to give you that, but I can certainly follow up and get you a list. We've contacted them all, and everyone they're all refusing as of today to provide heavy tow truck work. They're still doing light tow work, obviously towing cars and all those things. But right now we're reviewing their contracts, their standing offer, and reviewing what actions we can take to deal with this unprecedented situation. We're also calling tow truck companies in Eastern Ontario. We're now contacting other large municipalities. The mayor has reached out to several mayors of larger cities in Ontario, Toronto, Brampton, and others, to see if we can get help from there. And right now the consensus seems to be that many of them, or most of them, don't want to do the work because, especially the heavy tow truck work, because they rely on the heavy truck industry for their livelihood, and they don't want to damage that part of their business. That's the position they're taking, at least to us. But we are pursuing that. We've talked with the province and the federal government at the official level, and we're all looking at the problem we have, quite frankly, across Canada, across Ontario and across Canada, with respect to tow truck operators refusing to participate in the towing of these protesters.
Okay, thank you. And then maybe this is a question for Deputy Bell, and then hearing that, Deputy, how do you get the rigs out of there if they won't be operated out of there? I think Chief slowly alluded to this in some of his answers about trying to find some alternative solutions. What solutions are on the table right now if you can't get a tow out of there?
Yes, great question. Thank you. The tow challenge has been a challenge in every jurisdiction that's faced this, and it's forcing us to come up with some creative solutions. We have a host of different options that we're currently look at. Can't, because of operational concerns, I don't want to share those right now, but we are coming towards a position where we're not going to let the tow truck operators and the ability to tow those vehicles out of there be an obstacle to ending what's occurring.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Nous allons maintenant passer à Emmanuel Poisson à Radio-Canada.
Emmanuel Poisson, Radio-Canada.
Yes, please. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Bonjour. Ma première question, si...
My first question, if you could answer it in French and in English. Actually, in French first. To follow up on a question of my colleague, with several trucks being illegally parked in the streets, it's still going on despite the injunction and despite the efforts of police officers to give them tickets. If the towing companies don't want to provide the service, what can the city do, the police service of Ottawa, to move these trucks away, especially since the towing company don't want to do the work? Thank you for the question. There are challenges with these trucks, but for now, the police, like Steve Bell said, will not let them affect them. They are reviewing several other options, but they can't explain them now because those are tactics, and they don't want to show what they're planning now. So you're confirming that there's no towing company that want to take part in this effort. In Ottawa, we contacted all companies and none of them are interested because they're afraid they're going to lose the business because a lot of their business come from heavy trucks. So they said they're not interested in doing the work that we need. We're also contacting other major municipalities such as Toronto and others to see if they have those kind of tow trucks. And we're still looking for other tow trucks throughout the province to see if someone could help us. But they're still really all holding the same position. And now I have a question for Mayor Watson. Mr. Mayor, you said this morning on Ottawa Morning that you launched the idea of a special mediator. Did you make the request? Do you have any news? What's happening with this? Thanks for the question. Yes, I talked with the minister and deputy minister, and I suggested that as an option to put an end to this demonstration. So it's now up to the federal elected reps to do something. We will be discussing this probably tomorrow, not just the issue of a mediator, but also our requests for additional police officers with the province and the federal government. We'll be discussing at the table together to discuss the future steps. But that's an option. They haven't said yes or no for now, but they said that they will be reviewing it.
Yeah, not a negotiator, Joanna, someone to go in to mediate or help to facilitate. I brought the suggestion up to a number of federal ministers and members of parliament. They said they would look at that as a possible option. They didn't say yes, they didn't say no, but I thought it may help to break the logjam if we could get someone whose reputation is well regarded from all points of view in the country to sit down and see if we cannot find a amicable solution to this. I'm not suggesting for a moment that the government bend on its mandates to deal with their fight against COVID-19. That has to be paramount. But you know, we may be able to find some common ground in some aspects that at least the truckers would get a hearing. But their behavior to this point has to improve dramatically, and I would only suggest or support any kind of a mediator or a facilitator if first and foremost all of the convoys leave the downtown core and stop breaking the law. Otherwise, I wouldn't be suggesting that.
And I'm sorry, did you say in French that you're having a meeting tomorrow?
We hope to have a meeting with the provincial and federal officials and the municipalities on a tripartite table. We're not sure if it's confirmed tomorrow or the next day, but certainly within the next 2 days to get us all around the same table to discuss our letter that we sent to the Premier and the Prime Minister with respect to the additional 1,800 human resources, police officers and inspectors that we need to help bring this situation under control. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Nous allons maintenant passer à Marie-Christine Villeneuve à TVA.
Marie-Christine Villeneuve from TVA.
Marie-Christine?
Marie-Christine, are you there?
Est-ce que Olivier est là?
Olivier
De TVA Nouvelle?
from TVA Nouvelle?
Okay. We'll just
Fine.
as they connect to their audio, we will go to Wall Street Journal, Paul Vieira.
Yes, hi. Just picking up on a line of questioning from earlier. Mayor Watson, a representative for the Freedom Convoy said at an
Oh, we
event.
hear you very well. Mayor, can you hear Paul?
No, I can't. It's muffled.
Okay.
Let me try something else here. Sorry.
Sorry, we can't hear. Is there a better microphone you can use?
Is this better? Is this better?
No, it's more muffled.
Okay. I'll skip.
This is better. This is actually better. If you can talk a little bit louder, yeah, that's great.
Okay. Mayor, earlier a representative for the Freedom Convoy organization said that they wanted to, they said that this would not be resolved through political enforcement, but via political dialogue. And they wanted to sit down and talk to the city about de-escalating the police enforcement of the protest in order to find a solution. Is that something you would be agreeable to?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we have not received any formal or informal request through my office. I just confirmed that with my chief of staff. I'd have to think long and hard about sitting down with them because the behavior that they have shown towards our citizens does not merit that kind of a dialogue. If they're willing to move their vehicles and stop the non-stop honking of horns, then of course I'd be happy to sit down. But at the end of the day, I have no jurisdiction over federal and provincial mandates, and I think they should understand that. But you know, I think it's important for them to show good faith. If they want to have a meeting with whoever, myself included, they should be clearing out and then come back peacefully, and I'd be happy to meet with them. But I'm not going to go and reward bad behavior until they smarten up and get all of their trucks out of our downtown core. Thank you.
I don't have a follow-up. I'm good.
Thank you very much, Paul. This concludes our media availability for tonight. Ceci conclut notre point de presse pour aujourd'hui. Merci. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for your time.